honey, a much bigger bang than you bargained for.
Steven Moffat's back. Well, not as showrunner, but he's written this week's episode of Doctor Who. So to celebrate, I thought I'd take a look back to the past and rank every single Steven Moffat era episode. I've already ranked all of RTD1 era stories, so you can go and check that out, link in the description. Okay, so we'll just dive straight into this tier list. Yeah, these episodes are not in order. I mean, it kind of spices the video up a bit. You're not going to be able to just skip through to the exact story you're looking to see my ranking of. They are in a random order. This isn't actually my fault, this is just whoever made this tier list. But I'm not going to moan because they've made it, so I don't have to. But yeah, we'll start with Vincent and the Doctor. Now, I think this is going to be a little bit of a hot take. Okay, get ready for some controversy and people moaning and whining in the comments. I absolutely adore the final 5 minutes of this episode, and I think the premise is genius. Like, the monster being invisible and only Vincent can see it. Like, I'm fully on board with that. What I'm not on board with is that the Doctor gets a weird machine and then sees it and it's a giant CGI chicken. I think that really sort of ruins the momentum of the episode. And also, this is my first really controversial take, I'm not that big a fan of Amy Pond. Karen Gillan is fantastic, absolutely love her, she's great as Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy, and she performs the character well. I don't know, there's something about Amy and Rory that never fully click. For me, they're still brilliant. Like, this is in terms of Doctor Who companions. It's a very high bar. But Rory and Amy are not my favourites. And I think this episode is saved by the final 5 minutes. So I'm, part of me, controversially, B. But that feels really harsh. Because I'm gonna move it to A purely for the concept and the final 5 minutes. But just take that as my controversial take. I don't love it as much as the rest of the world, but we'll move on to The Lodger. It's a solid episode. James Corden, controversially maybe, I don't know whether this is controversial, I think he's great in it. I really do enjoy his character. I think he's called Craig. Another controversial take, I'm just throwing out controversial opinions here, left, right and centre. I actually prefer Closing Time to The Lodger, because it may be a more campy, over-the-top, silly story, but sometimes I love it when Doctor Who does that. So Lodger, I'm going to put in a solid B. It's a good episode, but rarely do I sort of go to the TV, like go to open up iPlayer, or in the good old days, back in the day, open up the DVD box set and pick The Lodger. It's not really something I tend to do, but if I'm rewatching or binging the show, I'm not going to stop at The Lodger. There's certain episodes of certain eras, aka Orphan 55, that do make me kind of go, okay, I'm having a break here. The Lodger, it's a fun episode, nothing too bad with it. Now we're talking, the Pandorica opens is fantastic. Luckily, the Big Bang is right next to it, so I can come to my opinions on that in a second, but Pandorica opens as a opening is just brilliant. I mean, it's top 5 Doctor Who moments is Matt Smith stood on Stonehenge doing his "Hello Stonehenge," all of that jazz. Absolutely sensational. I think, didn't Ryan Gosling say this is like the first part of Doctor Who he saw, and that made him fall in love with Matt Smith as an actor? And then obviously he's a fan, well, he's friends with Ncuti Gatwa, and he's a fan of Doctor Who, so he was going round wearing that shirt of, like, I think it was a fan-made shirt of Ncuti Gatwa as the 15th Doctor back while they were filming the Barbie movie in, I believe, 2022, around this time 2 years ago. But we got a bit sidetracked there. Pandorica opens, he's going in A. Maybe that's controversial. It's close to S, but I'm going to reserve S for, like, my absolute favourites, which are going to annoy people. Like, I know my S tiers. Like, when I discuss this with like the Discord, my Confused Adipose Discord server, plug it, it'll be in the description, join it. People often go, what are you talking about? There's certain episodes I absolutely love that the rest of the world seems to hate, but we'll get to that in a minute. The Big Bang. This is the episode that caused Stephen Moffat to leave Twitter, actually, because people kept pointing out that it didn't quite make sense in certain areas, and I think they were being quite rude about it. I mean, it's online trolls, especially back in 2010, this would have aired. I can see why Stephen Moffat took a step back from Twitter. He's back now, though, to be fair, and Twitter itself, I'd argue, has gotten worse, but the public's reception towards Moffat has gotten a lot better. I think now that a lot of the generation like myself who grew up with Moffat as showrunner are older, there's a bigger appreciation for his work, and I'm sure that same sort of thing will happen with Chris Chibnall when fans who were kids when the episodes were coming out, when they grow up, there's like a wave of appreciation for that past era. But Big Bang, I do think it's just a bit of a mess, really. There's really cool elements like, hey kid, this is where it gets complicated, and Amy being put in the Pandorica, and I absolutely adore the dialogue between the Doctor and Rory when he's going back and forth and he's got the fez and he's got the mop. River's song, I know this is controversial again, she's not my favourite companion, and she does start to grate on me a little bit, and so do Amy and Rory. I'm gonna have to put it in C tier. I think it's not the worst of the worst. Like, as I say with The Lodger, if I'm rewatching Doctor Who, I'm not gonna stop at that episode head in hands and go, oh, I can't carry on. But it's just, I think it's the first sort of proper wet fart of a finale out of New Who. Like, it's the first point where the momentum, the payoff doesn't quite hit. And I think why Journey's End and prior Russell T Davies finales worked so well is because there was like a build-up, whereas I think The Big Bang just sort of, obviously you've got the overarching narrative thread of, oh, there's the mysterious cracks, but it fails to deliver. It leaves too much waffliness. Yeah, I'm going to leave it in C tier, but it's in between C and D in my head. I've never enjoyed it because I think the Pandorica Open sets up this sort of boom Moffat finale so well. Boom wasn't a pun because of his recent episode, by the way. Accidental, of course. But yeah, Big Bang doesn't work for me. No offence, Moffat. Love your writing. A Christmas Carol, another one. This is really, I know it's controversial, but I just don't like it that much. Katherine Jenkins, she is a great singer. She's cool, but Christmas Carol is one of my favourite stories, especially Christmas stories. I absolutely love seeing it adapted. Like, stage plays of it are always great fun. I actually got to see David Bradley, the actor who played the first Doctor, because we've had William Hartnell, Richard Hurtnell, then David Bradley playing the first Doctor. But yeah, I got to see David Bradley read it live, and that was, life-changing. Bit dramatic there, not life-changing, but it was great fun. Yeah, I love A Christmas Carol, and I don't think this episode does it justice, sadly. It's a bit of a mess. I get the whole Moffat's going for fairy tale vibes of Series 5, but the floating sharks just don't do it for me. There's just something strange about it. And also, minor nerd thing here, but the laws of time travel, they've been established to not work like they do in A Christmas Carol, and it doesn't bother me as much as it used to, because when I was like early teens, I'd be more like, well, this is ridiculous, this is not the laws of time travel according to Doctor Who. But now that I'm slightly more grown up, I'm in my 20s now, I feel like a wise old man. I think, I don't know, my opinions come round more on it, and I do think like time travel rules in Doctor Who are always loose and flimsy at best anyway, so it's not as deep as I used to make out, but there's still something which just hinders me from enjoying the episode as much. And I think the whole plane crash thing with Amy and Rory, it just, I don't really care. Like, I struggle to empathise with the characters in that episode, which I know is controversial because I know Tharies, shout out to Tharies, we've often discussed our very, very varying opinions on A Christmas Carol because he absolutely adores it. I think it's one of his favourite Christmas episodes ever, whereas for me it's probably in my bottom 5 Doctor Who Christmas episodes, if not bottom 3, thinking about it, which, yeah, I'm sure that's going to ruffle a lot of feathers, as the cool kids would say. But we're moving on to an episode I do genuinely love, The Rings of Akaten. Now, before I go into sort of discussing episodes from Series 7B, I should probably clear up what may be a personal bias. The series I fully fell in love with Doctor Who during was Series 7B, back in the latter half of 2013. I'd watched bits and bobs of Series 7A and liked it, but Matt Smith in Series 7B and Clara, like, that duo that's my childhood, that's my proper jumping on point for Doctor Who. I think I was in year 5 of primary school, I'd have been in year 5, and then Time with the Doctor, I was in year 6, because Capaldi's first season I was just starting secondary school. But yeah, not to make anybody feel old, but that would have been, I'd have been about 10, 9. I think I'd have been 9, maybe 8 or 9. Around 9, I'm going to go with 9, when these sort of episodes aired. And I know there's a lot of criticism, like this video would feel uneducated if I didn't talk about the heavy criticism of the Series 7B writing it towards the 11th Doctor, which I do completely understand, and I think there are moments that just, like, the bit, I think it's Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS, where the Doctor says, like, an enigma trapped in a skirt that's a little bit too tight, is just bizarre. Like, what was Moffat thinking there? I'd love to know the thought process, but yeah, Rings of Akaten, I'm going to put in a solid A or B. The speech, it's going in A, but it's a good episode, but the speech, whoa, the speech at the end is flawless, and Clara, that for me, that's her moment to shine. Obviously, she's great in other episodes, but that is, like, I feel like it's it's what warrants her becoming a proper companion, and not just a companion. She was like a companion for years and years and years. So I'd say, yeah, A tier, Rings of Akaten. Also, fun little bit of trivia while we're here. You can actually see, so Series 7, Episode 4, Cold War, they built this is going somewhere, I promise. They built a practical Ice Warrior puppet for inside the suit, but apparently it looked too crap and it didn't really work on camera, so they binned it off and used CG for the head. I think, is it Skaldak? I think it's Grand Marshal Skaldak of the something Ice Warrior Hives, something like that. Someone in the comments tell me the Ice Warrior's name in Cold War. I think it's that. But yeah, they built a practical one of him. They didn't use it, but it does crop up in 2 shots in the background of the Rings of Akaten. Also, if we're going even more nerdy, even more deep, that same model is still used in the 3.75-inch action figure range for the unarmoured Ice Warrior action figure, despite it being completely different to what was seen on screen. So there's a bit of useless trivia for you that absolutely not help you in any way, shape or form ever in your life, but you can tell that at parties and make people run away from you. It's going in A tier. I also like the long song, all of that, it's iconic. I'll stop waffling and we'll move on to the Crimson Horror, which is going to be controversial again. Part of me, I'm not going to lie, part of me is tempted to put it in S tier, which I think maybe I'm being a bit trigger happy there. Maybe my childhood memories of the episode, because I absolutely loved it. I just remember sitting with the sun beaming through, because this is my old bedroom, not the bedroom I'm in now. Not this bedroom either, this is my university bedroom, my other home bedroom, my old bedroom, right at the top of the house, like a little loft room, sun beaming through. As the sun was setting, I'd sit there on the TV, like small TV that I'd got for my birthday, load up iPlayer and watch it on there, which I absolutely loved this episode. I also think, like, the style and the Victorian era stuff that's in, like, the Series 7B Paternoster gang stuff, like Strax, Jenny, Vastra. I always find that so fun. Like, even when it continues over to Series 8, I don't know, there's something about their team dynamic which I just absolutely adore, and there's such funny moments. Like, I don't know if I just have a bad sense of humour, because I know people complain about the Crimson Horror, but like the Thomas joke where Strax is trying to use like that young kid as like the equivalent of an old-fashioned sat-nav, and he's like, what's your name? Thomas, because Tom is the name of the sat-navs. It's just, I think it's a very humorous episode, and Ada whacking Mr. Sweet to death at the end. Very funny conclusion, and we get a little Tegan reference with Braveheart Clara. Oh, it's great. You know what? I kind of regret it already, but it's going in S tier. And you can fight me in the comments. Crimson Horror, apart from that one moment, which is absolutely diabolically bizarre, where the Doctor kisses Jenny. Scrap that. If we remove that scene, it's an S tier, because that scene, weird. But apart from that scene, adore that episode. Mrs. Gillyflower as well. It's so fun, because also it's clearly, I think, is it a Mark Gatiss episode? Because I think it's got like the roots in the Victorian workhouses, and I'm pretty sure it's kind of parodying the Salvation Army a little bit from back in the era, which, it's great fun, fantastic episode. High stakes, but not too high, lots of jokes, family entertainment, banging. Anyway, Hyde, another Series 7B. We haven't had any Series 6 yet, I don't think. They're in a weird order. Hyde is going to go in C tier. Yeah, purely because I never find myself rewatching it, ever. There's funny bits here and there, like the Clara calling the TARDIS a cow and stuff. I suppose it's funny dialogue, but I don't know. I think the ending's kind of nice, and another bit of trivia, Matt Smith mispronounces Metabolus 3. I think he calls it like Metabolus 3, a crystal from Metabolus, or something wrong that always gets nerds annoyed. But it happens twice, and it's the same clip of dialogue. You're never going to be able to unhear it now if you go back and watch Hyde. It's the same clip of dialogue they've overlaid for some reason. I have no idea why it sounds like that. Apparently, Matt Smith did say it right on set, but they did ADR and it was pronounced wrong, and that's what they went with. I don't really know, but Hyde's going in C tier. It's cool. I enjoyed the episode. I remember, if we're going back personal childhood, I recreated some of those scenes in Minecraft when I was very young after those episodes had aired, which was, that was great fun. Anyway, Nightmare in Silver, a Neil Gaiman episode, which is a bit of a letdown, if I'm honest. I had great fun this summer, actually, going to Cardiff Castle with a group of Doctor Who nerds from the Discord server. And we ran along the little passageways where they filmed some of the, I think, what's it called, like the Webley's World of Wonders or whatever. We ran along those little passageways, and that was great fun. I do like the kind of villain, whatever, the actor, the guy who plays the not very nice head teacher in the Nativity film. Him, Gordon Shakespeare, he's great in Nightmare in Silver. I think the idea of the Cyberman playing chess and the aesthetic of the episode is wonderful. I do kind of like the new design in that episode, but I don't know. There's something about the episode that doesn't fully click. Warwick Davis is in it as well. He's fun. I'm going to put it in B. It's kind of similar to The Lodger. I don't hate it at all. I think it's fine. It's good fun. No, it's not an offensive episode. It's just there. It's all right. Angie and Artie as well don't actually annoy me that much. People always complain at them, but I suppose I was a kid at the time and they were relatable-ish characters. They're a little bit annoying, but I think they're fine. I'm happy to leave it in B. The Name of the Doctor, I'm gonna put straight in S tier. That, I don't know, but I said that the other week about loving that episode, because I think it's in my top 20 episodes of Doctor Who of all time. Maybe that's controversial, but I absolutely adore it. As I say, Vastra, Jenny and Strax were fantastic. As a kid, I absolutely adored them. Still love the comedy of it all now. I think the whole Trenzalore plotline as well, I've always really loved it. Maybe it is a bit of childhood nostalgia, but also the opening sequence alone, I think, is the coolest piece of television literally ever. It's so cool. Stephen Moffat was oh, what a man, what a genius. The way that opening sequence just captivated me, because as well, it's not like it's just a nostalgia thing. As I say, I kind of joined watching Doctor Who around Series 7 time, so I didn't really know all the classic Doctors. Obviously, I knew the basics. Like, I had watched some of the Russell era when I was a lot younger, and I loved the Doctor Who toys and stuff, so I did know the basics, and I did have, like, a 5th Doctor action figure, which was one of the first, like, Doctor Who action figures I ever got. I'd never watched any of his episodes. I was just like, oh, this looks cool. So I was aware of the show and its history, but like just seeing all of the classic Doctors and Clara in all of those funky costumes in those classic episodes, it just felt so cool. Because as well, for me, I can watch it now and I'm able to go like, oh, that footage of John Pertwee driving in Bessie, well, that's from the 5 Doctors, they've just ripped that there. Or, oh, that Sylvester McCoy clip is from Dragonfire. I think that's the right title. But yeah, do you know what I mean? I can now identify all of that. But at the time, it was just completely like, oh my god, all of these new clips that I've never seen. Clara's going along the Doctor's time stream. Like, it was such a cool thing. And people complain about mystery boxes and Clara was more of a mystery box than a character. I never got that. I thought she was fab in Series 7B, and I really, really loved, just Name of the Doctor, so cool. I also remember, because I watched that episode, same as I watched Nightmare in Silver, or The Rings of Acton, one of them. I watched it in my room on iPlayer, and I remember calling my dad up at the end, because he used to watch Doctor Who as a kid, and I was just like, oh my god, I think they've regenerated. There's a new Doctor. Look, there's a new Doctor. And it was John Hurt. And it's introducing John Hurt as the Doctor. And then he was like, well, that's not really kind of how they do regeneration. He's probably just a version of the Doctor we haven't met before. And he was right. But then we get the 50th rolls round. And we can talk about the 50th now. Because here it is. I'm going to put it in S tier as well. What an achievement. I mean, to think that trivia time. We need a little trivia time klaxon. But to think that Stephen Moffat was at one point writing a draft of this script that didn't have Matt Smith, didn't have David Tennant, didn't have John Hurt, didn't have Christopher Eccleston, didn't have any of that. It just had Jenna Coleman. Like, that's wild. Because there was a point in time where Jenna was the only one contracted to be, actually contracted to legally have to appear in the episode. All the other actors could have just turned it down and gone, nah. Like Christopher Eccleston, he was given scripts which included the 9th Doctor instead of the War Doctor, but he chose in the end, which fair enough, because obviously I'm not one to speculate. I am. But I don't know what happened with Christopher Eccleston in 2005, but it's his choice not to come back, and we have to respect that, as much of a shame as it is for fans. That's his choice, completely fair enough. And it did lead to us having John Hurt, which was a cool twist. The War Doctor's always good fun. He's, not my favourite incarnation of the Doctor, but then I suppose he is the War Doctor. He's not a normal Doctor. But yeah, it's such a cool episode. I think, the whole saving Gallifrey, it works really, really nicely. It's such a cool moment with all the TARDISes whizzing around. No, sir, all 13. The flash of the upcoming 12th Doctor, which at the time was wild. I remember the excitement everywhere. We'll just gloss over the disastrous after party of the 50th anniversary, which nobody really talks about anymore, but I remember being a bit of a mess. Anyway, Time of the Doctor, I'm also going to put in S tier. I think all of the Doctors, that little saga, including Night of the Doctor, sensational. This was my first live regeneration episode, and I remember just watching. We were at my grandparents' for Christmas Day. The whole family watched it. Great vibes, and I watched the end over and over and over and over and over again. I remember going into primary school and showing everyone on the computers. We were watching the Matt Smith regeneration into Capaldi scene over and over and over again, because it was obviously almost a year. Well, I suppose not. It was August of 2014 that the new season series would drop. We're not in the Disney Plus era yet, but yeah, it was Time of the Doctor's great fun. It's a little bit waffly now that I'm older, like looking back on some of it, But it's so triumphant, it's so fun, it's a brilliant way for the 11th Doctor to go out. Absolutely adore it. But we're brought crashing back to reality with the Doctor, the Widow and the Wardrobe. Some fun moments. The opening 5 minutes, banging. The end is alright. Yeah, it's fine. Once again, I really enjoy the story, the tale of the Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. But the Doctor, the Widow and the Wardrobe, it's got the mum from Outnumbered in. That's fun. It's got Bill Bailey in. That's fun. But it just doesn't hit. I don't know what it is. Cyril, I'm sure if you're out there, the actor of Cyril, you're probably a lovely guy. Your character was a bit annoying. Yeah, I'm going to put the Doctor, the Widow and the Wardrobe in C tier. But I do enjoy it more than A Christmas Carol, so that's a little bit of a dilemma. Like, I think that there's some really nice lines. I can't remember what they are, but the 11th Doctor says something about, like, the kids being sad and that's why she's not telling them. I can't remember. There's some really nice lines in there, trust me. I mean, you're Doctor Who fans watching this video. You know there's really nice lines in there. The Wooden King and Queen are a bit naff, though, so yeah, I'm comfortable leaving it in C tier. Asylum of the Daleks. Yeah. I enjoyed it a lot more as a child. I remember it was one of the only episodes I had downloaded from the iTunes store onto the old, clunky, now broken iPad. Yeah, I can remember watching it over and over again because it was, as I say, one of the only ones I had downloaded. That and Father's Day for some reason. Two bizarre episodes. Like, they're not in the same similar... You know what I mean. Asylum of the Daleks, I'm going to put in C. Oh, I don't know. It's tricky because there are some nice moments. There's some really nice moments. And Oswin, I think, is a really fun character. I think Amy and Rory's divorce subplot's quite nice. I mean, I suppose it comes out of nowhere, but if you watched Pond Life, I mean, if people don't know about it, there's a little mini-sode series. I think there's 5 episodes written by Chris Chibnall. Yeah, which they're very Chris Chibnall-y in a good way, with like a lot of realism, family drama. I suppose to say realism, there's an ood on their toilet and stuff, but it's all good fun, and it does kind of lead up to the divorce. I think the divorce comes out a little bit out of nowhere, so I think I'm going to have to put it in C. That feels a bit harsh, but maybe I could knock it up to B. Yeah, it's not as bad as I'm remembering. I do like it. Oswin's good fun. The reveal of "You Are a Dalek" as a kid, that was like, oh my god, mic drop moment, really, really cool. Yeah, B it is. Dinosaurs on a spaceship, a very Chris Chibnall episode again, but I like it. I used to like it more. In recent years, I don't like it as much. I think David Bradley's all right in it. I think the Mitchell and Webb robots are quite funny. But there's another little trivia moment, trivia klaxon. They shot on Bad Wolf Bay, like the exterior of the spaceship stuff, when they, like, pterodactyls are flying over. And yeah, I don't know, it's a weird one. I'm going to put it in B, because I would maybe a couple of years ago have put it in A, but I don't know, it's not as fun as I remember, and it does have a little bit of, like, Chibnall-itis, if you will. That sounds a bit mean, but a little bit of the typical Chibnall problem, which bogged down a lot of his era, where there's too many characters for the plot. Like, you've got Queen Nefertiti, you've got that random explorer guy, you've got the Doctor, Amy, Rory's dad, who is basically just Graham or Dan Lewis, which I love that style of companion. Only Chris Chibnall's written them, and they're like some of my favourites. It's so fun having like a middle-aged man, who I guess is like the writer's surrogate in this case, because it's just Chris Chibnall writing what he'd do if he was in that scenario. Yeah, I think it's good fun. There's some funny lines as well, like the Doctor talking about his Christmas list, and then Brian's balls, that joke, his golf balls. That's good fun. Yeah, I'm going to leave it in B. Part of me's putting it in A. It's gone from C to B to A, but I'm going to leave it in B for now. A Town Called Mercy, I'm also going to whack straight in B. Yeah, it's fun. I remember watching this episode quite a lot. It's weird how nostalgic this is making me. I feel like I haven't watched a lot of the Matt Smith era in a good number of years. Like, I watch Capaldi's era very frequently, and the Whittaker era feels relatively recent. The 60th specials, etc., are recent, and I've watched the RTD era countless times. But I don't know, I feel like Matt Smith's era has kind of, despite some of it being like my peak childhood love of the show, I think it's kind of been lost on me. This is making me want to rewatch it, but from what I remember, A Town Called Mercy is good fun. The Gunslinger's quite a cool villain, or not villain in the end, I guess. But yeah, I'm happy to leave it in B. I feel like I need to rewatch it to make a full-on decision, but I'll leave it in B for now. The Power of Three. Whew, do I have more trivia for you? And do I have a personal call-out right now for Stephen Burkoff? Not only are you pretentious with your drama practitioningness, which I was forced to study at A-level, not only that, with your silly little miming practitioner nonsense, Stephen Burkoff, you also ruined what is a fantastic episode of Doctor Who. It's one of my favourite episodes Chris Chibnall ever wrote. It's such a cool mystery. The slow invasion, all of that banging, Kate Stewart's introduction, all of it absolutely wonderful. But then we get to the end, and I'll tell you why the end falls flat on its face. Stephen Burkoff allegedly, I'm saying allegedly, definitely did. I'm starting drama with a man who does not care and is probably incredibly rich and will never see this video, but Stephen Burkoff, you've made an enemy. But apparently, Stephen Burkoff was a little bit too pretentious for Doctor Who. He thought it was a bit naff, thought it was a bit silly, didn't really like what was going on, and walked off set. Which is why you get the infamous line of Matt Smith going, "Oh, he was a hologram, he was never really here," and then the sonic screwdriver saves the day. Because they had to rewrite the entire ending because Stephen Burkoff, who was playing the villain, the bold villain, I can't remember his name, whatever he is, he was playing that villain and he just walked off set. So they had to completely adapt around it because Stephen Burkoff is... Any drama students out there who have to study Stephen Burkoff, unless you're one of those weird, wacky people that love that kind of style of theatre, which if you do, all power to you. Great. I just have beef with Stephen Burkoff. Really. We're gonna imagine. Obviously, it's difficult to know. Maybe the ending would still have felt like a little bit of a letdown, but we're going to imagine Stephen hadn't walked off set. And I'm going to put it in A, because I really like it. If the ending didn't rely on the sonic screwdriver as much, I would possibly be tempted to push it towards S tier. It's just so fun, and like Brian's log, all of that, genuinely peak Doctor Who. Also, in the summer, we took a trip to Amy and Rory's house and the little like play area outside of it where the Doctor sat looking at the cubes. All of that, brilliant stuff. It's in between an S tier and A tier, but as I say, the ending doesn't work, and I unfairly probably blame that all on Stephen Burkoff. His first name might not even be Stephen, but I know his surname. Oh, the Angels take Manhattan. The Statue of Liberty moment, this is the first thing that jumps to my head immediately on seeing that episode. Statue of Liberty moment is absolutely ridiculous. Stupid. But the episode itself, overall, quite fun. As I say, I'm not the biggest fan of Amy and Rory, but it is a very nice send-off for the pair, so I don't have too much to say on it. Weeping Angels are fun, but I feel like every subsequent story we've had afterwards, apart from the Jodie Whittaker one, what's it called? The Village of the Angels. Apart from that one, every appearance of the Weeping Angels has made them less scary. But yeah, this one, C tier. That feels harsh, maybe B. No, it's C, because I don't like it that much. I enjoy it, and there's really good moments, but overall, it's never, like, Face the Raven, I actually, like, sob at. Like, it's so sad, it's great. Angels Take Manhattan, I'm kind of like, yeah, Amy and Rory, you've been around a while, it's time for you to go. But it's sad that you've gone in this way. What I will say, though, is the unmade minisode called PS, which was, yeah, that would have been great. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Anyway, we'll move on to the snowman or snowmen. That's going in A tier immediately. Clara, in that episode, part of me still wishes to this day that Victorian Clara was Eleven's main companion. The chemistry between her and Matt Smith is insane in that episode. Literally wild. The Great Intelligence, I think, it's a very fun, a fun villain. And as I say, I keep saying, Vastra, Jenny and Strax are so much fun. The setting of Victorian England as well, absolutely brilliant. The spiral staircase imagery going up to the TARDIS on a cloud, peak fantasy, and the introduction of the new TARDIS console room. It's just brilliant. And the little Punch and Judy stuff, that's the way to do it. And then boom, and it's great. And there's so much fun. Strax and the Memory Worm, hilarious. One of my favourite Christmas specials, definitely. And also, I felt really stupid because I only realised this about 2 Christmases ago, but each of the Matt Smith Christmas episodes, the title is a parody. Obviously, A Christmas Carol is obviously a parody of A Christmas Carol. And then The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. Duh. But it's the snowman. I'm walking in the air. That snowman. I don't know how I never got that. But I've grasped it now. I'm in the know. And I suppose Last Christmas, even if we carry on to Capaldi, Last Christmas is a parody of the Christmas song. Wedding of River Song, maybe that's a parody of something, I don't know. Return of Dr. Mysterio is like a parody of superheroes. And now I'm probably reaching Once Upon a Time, Twice Upon a Time, you've got all of that. Anyway, we'll move on to our next episode. I don't know why that was so breathy. I'm just keeping up the rhythm. I don't know what I'm talking about. Bells of St. John, A tier. It's a banger. I think, once again, maybe it's nostalgia. I have such clear memories of the don't click that Wi-Fi and run, you clever boy, and remember me. All of that, really cool, really intriguing mystery. And I love when, they literally use the TARDIS as, going onto the plane and the Doctor being like, I'm 900 years old, but I don't know how to fly a plane. And that whole idea of Wi-Fi, maybe it's a little bit like commentary of the modern day. I didn't see it as that as a kid. I thought it was really fun. It's a really cool idea. And I remember going into the playground the day after and everyone was talking about it. Doctor Who's back. Good fun. Yeah, Bells of St. John. Cracking episode. A tier it deserves. Cold War. I already gave my fun little trivia on Cold War earlier, but as for my thoughts on the episode itself, I think it's probably one of the weaker ones of Series 7B. That's not to say it's bad or it's terrible, it's just it never quite does it for me. I'm going to put it in B. Yeah, I think. But then, is it better than... No, I'm going to put it in C. Because I'd say I get the same amount of enjoyment from Cold War as Angels Take Manhattan or Hyde. So, yeah, I'm going to put it in C tier. I'm surprised we haven't had anything in D yet, but... Trust you me, it's coming. It's a coming. 11th Hour, I mean, could anyone argue it's literally the best Doctor companion introduction story ever? And as I say, I keep emphasising it, I'm not even the biggest Amy and Rory fan, but wow, did Moffat achieve literally perfection in terms of a first episode. If you're not hooked after that first episode, You're not, the show is not for you. America, you watched that and went, boom, it's going to be a success in America. Great. It's so good. I need to stop getting too over the top. 11th Hour, S tier, no arguments there. Absolutely banging. The Impossible Astronaut. Is this part 1 or 2? I'm trying to remember. What would part 2 be? I'm trying to find it. The Day of the Moon... I can't remember. Impossible Astronaut, I think, is part 1. I'm going to rank it as if it is part 1. It's good. It's an episode I enjoyed more when I was younger. When I rewatch it, I'm a bit maybe because I think the way the whole Series 6 plotline was actually wrapped up was a bit naff. Maybe that affects my enjoyment of the story. I'm going to put Impossible Astronaut in C. Yeah, It's fine. It's just, I don't know, I think the start's really good, then the pacing's a bit off, and it just sort of becomes a bit boring as it goes on. Then we'll move on to The Beast Below, which, D. Maybe that's controversial, but I really just, yeah, sure, there's a nice bit at the end with the last of its kind. We've heard it 100 times by this point. And yeah, Amy, she's fine in the episode. I feel like I've got beef with Amy Pond, as well as Stephen Burkoff. But yeah, no, we'll leave Beast Below in D. It's our first episode here that I would actively skip in a rewatch. Like, I don't know what it is about it. I just don't care for it. The Smilers, they should be creepy. On paper, they're creepy, but in practice, I just don't care. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I just don't care. Day of the Moon, I'm going to put in C as... I'm going to put it in B. I enjoy it. The part 2 I enjoy more than part 1. I think it's a very clever ending, like the "you should kill us all" on sight. Yeah, the way they wrap that up, very fun. Nixon in it, I think, is brilliant. I didn't realise until recently the amount of prosthetics they had to put on the guy's face. I thought they just found an actor who looked like Richard Nixon, but yeah, I don't know. It's a good episode. Victory of the Daleks, C. I've not got too much to say on it. It's alright. It's another Mark Gatiss just alright kind of episode. The new design of the Daleks, I know everyone says it, but they do look like Power Rangers or Teletubbies, or whoever was designing them clearly thought about the toys first rather than the actual look of them. Yeah, C, I'm happy to put them in C. Victory of the Daleks can go in C. Flesh and Stone, controversial take, it's going in C. As I say, I think Blink is one of the best episodes of Doctor Who ever. It sets up the Weeping Angels so well, and then Flesh and Stone ruins them. The whole image of an angel becomes an angel thing. Obviously, we kind of got to stick with it now because that's canon, but it makes them less scary. I think a problem as well is Blink works so well because the Doctor's not there. Like, when you've got a time traveller as the main character, them sending you back in time doesn't quite ever work as a threat. So they then introduce, Angel Bob, and the angels can snap your neck. Silly. Putting Time of Angels in there as well. I'm lumping them together as one story, and they're staying in seed. Vampires of Venice. I don't know why I said Venice like that. Yeah, it's alright. I don't know why, but I distinctly remember watching this on Gold, I think the channel was called, or Watch TV Gold, or something like that. One of the channels. It was like years after it had actually aired, and it's alright. Yeah, C. There's a lot of C going on at the moment. Amy's Choice, I think, once again, because we're discussing Series 5, in some of my prior videos, me and Tharies always discuss Series 5. I think Amy's Choice is like his favourite episode. Why? It's good. Toby Jones is good. I mean, he's good in Sherlock as a villain as well. Here, he's I'm not going to complain. He's fine. He knows what he's doing. It's a good performance. I just don't care. I don't know what it is. And I love the setting and the idea of like a village of old people, old folks' home. But there's something about the episode which just, it makes me so, I could watch it, I could take it or leave it. I never find myself coming to rewatch it, so I think I'm going to have to put it in C tier if this is going to stop lagging. There we go. Hungry Earth, straight in C tier as well. I mean, this is where the ranking, I think, has kind of gone downhill. Yeah, it's just fine. Like, the Silurian design, it's a nice update for the 21st century rather than the somewhat less expressive classic Who cousins. Well, cousins would be the Sea Devils if we're getting nerdy. The classic Who variant of Silurian. Yeah, it's fine. So it's going in C tier. I think there's some interesting ideas in there, but it is kind of just a rehashing of the original. I think, is it 1970 Silurian story? Wedding of River Song, where should I put that? Straight in D tier. What a convoluted mess. Once again, no offence, Moffat, not that you're watching. Your stories are brilliant 99.9% of the time. Sadly, The Wedding of River Song is not one of those times. I think the Tesseract being... No, that's Marvel. Tesselector, I think it's called. The Tesseract is Loki's weird cube. The Tesselector being the answer to all the Doctor's problems, and oh, it's a fixed point in time, oh, it's not, you break the rules, Doctor lies, nonsense, silly. And Amy, like, murders someone, which I said that as if it's a bad thing. It's quite an interesting thing to do character-wise, and obviously it sort of doesn't happen because time gets reversed or whatever. I don't know. It's going in D. It just... I think the starting of it is such a cool idea, which is probably one of the reasons I'm more harsh on it. Because I remember when I first watched it, time's all messed up, and you've got pterodactyls, Charles Dickens on the news, all of that. Really, really fun. Winston Churchill being president, prime minister, whatever. It's such a cool idea, but I just think Moffat didn't deliver, didn't work properly. It's a shame. Doesn't flow. Okay, A Good Man Goes to War, I'm going to put in A. It's good, yeah. It's solid, I like it. Not as much as a kid. Like, when I was a child, it was so much cooler. On rewatch, it's not as fun as I remembered. It's a little bit more waffly, but there are some brilliant lines, so I think it deserves A tier. On a good day, maybe I'd put it in S tier, but... There's just, I think it's what I was talking about right at the start of this video. Like, Journey's End feels earned as a finale. Like, all those characters, Martha, Harriet Jones, whatever, they've been set up over the course of 5 years. This is year 2 of Stephen Moffat running Doctor Who, and he's acting as if we're supposed to know who Strax, Jenny and Vastra are, even though this is their first appearance. They'll grow into fantastic characters, sure, but... yeah, in this episode, they're just a bit mid. Also, fun fact, apparently John Barrowman was invited back as Captain Jack Harkness for this episode, which made a lot of sense. There's also the possibility, like, I don't know how much speculation this is, because we know for a fact John Barrowman was invited back, but couldn't make it because he was filming Torchwood Miracle Day, but... the stuff that happens with Dorian, where he gets his head chopped off by the headless monks, was going to happen to Jack, and then that was going to be... like, just Jack's head in a box, and then that was going to be sort of the origin story of the Face of Bo. How that head developed into whatever the hell the Face of Bo looks like, I don't really know. That's for you to decide. Give me your best fan theory in the comments down below. Night Terrors is good. B. Yeah, B. It's fun. It's got the guy from Ashes to Ashes in. Yeah, maybe C. Night Terrors feels like the same... No, yeah, no, I'm going to leave it in B. I'll be nice. There's a lot of negativity going on. There's a lot of stuff in C. I feel mean. We'll leave it in B. The Girl Who Waited, okay, banging episode. The endings always are, it's kind of terrifying. B, I may be tempted to move it up to A. I'm going to collect my thoughts. The vibe of the episode and the locations used are fantastic. Obviously, little trivia fact, the big main garden thing is also where Missy does her little heaven, welcome to heaven bits at series 8. Yeah, I think the ending, it being a choice for Rory, which Amy he takes with him, but does the Doctor choose? I can't remember. What I do remember, the ending is superb, so yeah, I'm gonna maybe bump it up to A. Yeah, I think it deserves A. Doctor's Wife, that's... I've always said, right, if any of you lot have watched Return to Oz, the Gnome King, the big rock villain in Return to Oz, I guarantee you, because Neil Gaiman wrote this episode as well, Neil Gaiman definitely was inspired by Return to Oz when writing The Doctor's Wife. Now, I have evidence on this. Neil has talked in interviews about loving Oz and the original Oz books by L. Frank Baum, and he has a character in the Sandman series, the Pumpkin guy, played by Mark Hamill, that is just a rip-off of Jack Pumpkinhead, not Jack Pumpkin King from A Nightmare Before Christmas, but Jack Pumpkinhead, the character from Oz. Yeah, I reckon the Gnome King was a major inspiration for House. It's that deep voice and the you can run down a corridor, we're going to play a game. All of that stuff is very reminiscent of Return to Oz, which is one of my favourite sort of cult movies of all time. I'm going to put it in B. No, I'm going to put it in A. Yeah, it is really good. And the TARDIS being in human form, I think, that's such a fun little thing, such a cool idea. I think it deserves A tier. And obviously you've got the Blue Peter competition winner building that scrapyard TARDIS. I think that plays into the story really, really nicely. So yeah, we'll leave that in A. Closing time, I'm going to put straight in B. I spoke about it earlier. I love it. I don't love it, but that was very strong. I like it more than I like The Lodger. So it's somewhere between A and B. But it's a B.5 or A.5 or something. It's good, but it's not deserving of A. And it is fun, and it has the woman from Come Outside, the show with the little dog, Pippin, and she was amazing. She was lovely. I do think some of the effects at the end are a bit naff, and I don't know. Stormageddon, though, I think that's a really funny thing. I think is this kid called Alfie, and then he calls him Stormageddon, Dark Lord of All. He calls himself that because the Doctor speaks baby. Of course he does. Yeah, that's all good fun. This next one is easy. That's going straight in D. Is it Hugh Bonneville who plays the pirate? Because what a wasted opportunity. Like, what a waste of an episode. I think the twist at the end, it's so Doctor Who-y. Like, it's why I kind of respect the new Russell T Davies 2 era, where fantasy myths, legends and all that stuff, like a ghostly siren could just exist now, whereas here they have to rationalise it with some ridiculously silly sci-fi nonsense, which, yeah, Almost People, straight in D as well. Boring. Never have I been this bored by an episode of Doctor Who. Like, I don't know what it is. I love the concept, and it's got the guy from Life on Mars in as well, Chris. He's great, but I don't know. The Rebel Flesh, the Almost People, just neither of those episodes ever did it for me. There's something off for both of them. They're going in D. I do, however, I have to say, the cliffhanger at the end of whatever part 2 is, I can't remember which way round they go, brilliant. That had my jaw on the floor when I first watched it. Amy being a flesh ganger duplicate that whole time. Brilliant stuff. Really, really liked that. So, yeah, it's just a shame the rest of the episode, which was also filmed partially in Cardiff Castle, I believe, it's a shame that that's all a bit naff. Okay, we're on to our final 2 episodes. Let's Kill Hitler. I remember watching this for the first time and being like, oh my god, everything makes sense now. It's all piecing together because I watched A Good Man Goes to War, then Let's Kill Hitler. I think I'm going to put it in B. It's a fun episode. It's got some really fun lines. I actually do really enjoy River Song in it, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm not her biggest fan usually, but I think in Let's Kill Hitler, Mel's and River Melody, and it's the same person, 2 different actors. It's really fun. Also, I absolutely adore the opening of it, just the cornfield, like the crop circles, Ledworth crop circles in the newspaper, then the Doctor shows up, all of that. Really fun. I do think it's a bit cheap though, how they just invent Mel as a friend of the Doctor, because if Stephen Moffat had planned it out a little bit more, it would flow more naturally. Like, why wasn't she at the wedding? We do get an answer, but it's a bit of a waffly answer. So yeah, it's going to go in B. It had potential to go higher, but I'm happy with it being in B. Then Cold Blood, what a boring way to go. Like, the episode itself isn't that bad, I don't hate it, but it's not an interesting thing to end on. It's going in C, right next to The Hungry Earth. It's fine. It's fun. It's nice. It's a good episode. The cliffhanger, I can't remember which one's which, but the cliffhanger to part 2 is very cool, with Rory being erased and dying and all that jazz. It's not amazing, but it's solid. And that, my friends, is our ranking of all the Stephen Moffat this is part 1, by the way. I'm exhausted. It is currently 4:15 a.m. Okay, that's the dedication I have to this video. I don't know when part 2 is going to be, but that's going to be me ranking the Capaldi era. I've also ranked every Russell T Davies era 1 story, if you want to go and check that out. Also, obviously upcoming, we're going to rank all the Jodie Whittaker era episodes. Then, once season 1's over, we're going to rank all of the new Disney Plus and 60th anniversary special era episodes, so make sure you're subscribed for that. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, you know the drill. Goodbye. Bye, bye, bye. Ah, finally, I can get some sleep.